2:47 a.m., Persian Gulf. I just left the rig floor after a 13.5-hour shift, salt sweat in my eyes, grease seeping into my greasy fingernails. The sea was black as steel, the sky barely dawned. I, Ethan Caldwell, 53, 28 years on rigs, just wanted to wash my face, drink a glass of warm water, and fall asleep. My phone vibrated. A text message. I'm leaving you. Moving to Palm Desert with my 26-year-old babe. Taking all our money. Oh, followed by a screenshot of our joint account. Where $137,800 should have been, there was only $1,374s. At the end of the line was a flying kiss. Light as a joke. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't smash the wall. I typed, "All right, be safe." Then I hung up and took a shower in the rig's uncomfortably warm water. It ran through my hair, down my neck. There are times when people have only two choices: blow up or keep quiet until the end. I choose silence. In the morning, I skip breakfast. The 18-man crew relies on me to keep this floating metal city from becoming a torch. Cole, my deputy, glances over during the safety check, but doesn't ask. Here, personal matters are personal matters. When you're between sea and fire, there's no room for moaning. During my lunch break, I open my email. Olivia, my wife of almost 18 years, has filed for divorce. The reason? I abandoned the marriage because I traveled overseas too much. She hired Mason Hart, a high net worth attorney. They're demanding alimony based on my excessive income. The last paragraph says, her spiritual companion is at home in Odessa, my home. I hang up, not telling anyone. That night, I sent a single email to my cousin Nathan, an accountant in Houston. Activate Gray Protocol. 3 minutes later, a reply. Got it. Absolutely no response until you get back to the U.S. I had 13 days left until the end of my shift. 108 degree bar on deck. The heat seeped through my shirt like hot coals. People would understand if I took a leave of absence. But what for? On the rig, work is the only thing that appreciates you. I kept going, exchanging sweat for the only peace I had left. That night, Victor Rains, the supervisor, came to my bed. "All right?" he asked, and not just about the well. "Everything under control," I replied. Another right answer in a sea of wrongs. I met Olivia 20 years ago at my friend's bait shop. She was 32, smiling as easily as opening a door, speaking in that way that confused city folk about live bait versus artificial bait. I was 34, just finished my contract, staying a few weeks, helping load. 10 months later, we were married. Quick, but sensible. On the day of our wedding, I had a house in Odessa, paid off early thanks to a small mining company I had bought, and a straight career on the international rigs. My old shift was 8 weeks on, 3 weeks off. The money was ridiculously good. I made what others made in 3 years in half a year. We agreed. She would keep the house. I would keep the rig. I thought I had secured the future. In year 11, small cracks appeared. Missed birthdays, photos of dinners sent, and then silence. The nagging question. Is it really necessary to accept a contract in Saudi? Then came the poisonous comparisons. My friend's husband comes home for dinner every night. I chuckled, thinking it was the natural progression of a long-distance marriage. Last winter, I came home to find everything repainted. Walls, cabinets, chairs. Even the house smelled different. I need a change of scenery, Olivia said. I didn't ask how much. 2 months ago, I saw transfers from the joint account to an unfamiliar account. Fundament repair, she said. I ran through the house before going up the steps, looking at the flat lawn. No signs of digging, just a strange dark gray BMW in the driveway. 4 weeks ago, she stopped answering her phone altogether. Busy with a new project, the message read. 3 days ago, my neighbor Walter Jenkins sent me a photo of a moving truck parked in front of the house. Thought you should know. I didn't reply. Sometimes doing nothing is the way to see the truth out of the shadows. The second day after the message, the satellite phone rang. Nathan, sit down. Speak up. He didn't beat around the bush. 15 months. Small transfers bearing her maiden name. First $200, then $4,500, then more in the last 90 days. Total $229,500, not just $137,800 in the joint account. I was silent. And, Nathan said in a low voice, she changed the beneficiary on her life insurance 6 months ago and opened a $45,000 HELOC with your forged signature. On the rig, the generator rumbled underfoot like a thick wave. 17 years became crumpled paper. That guy? Chase Langford, 26, ex-PT. No steady job for 3 years. 3 relationships with women over 45. Each relationship lasted about 18 months. I didn't need anyone to draw the pattern for me. And Ethan, Nathan said quietly, has 2 one-way tickets to Palm Desert booked for 4 days. I turned on my computer and logged into the email address only Nathan and I knew. From there, I went to Northwind Holdings, the holding company we'd set up 9 years earlier after I'd seen a coworker get cut out in a divorce. The balance was glowing. $172 million sum. 65% of my income had flowed there for 9 years, filed transparently, but separated from the marital estate using a structure Nathan had designed. I clicked send to Mason Hart, a Houston lawyer. Proceed with Operation Silent Frost. For the first time in days, I was hungry. I landed in Houston 34 hours after closing time. Nathan picked me up with a burned SIM phone and a stack of documents. She's been calling your old number since yesterday, Nathan said as we walked to the parking lot. The bank froze the account for unusual activity. They want you to come in person. I nodded. She didn't know I was back. And this, Nathan showed me his phone. Text messages between Olivia and someone saved as C. New life plan. Cold jokes about me being at sea while they spent my money. A line from 2 days ago that made my neck go cold. Bank frozen. Need Ethan to verify in person. What to do? He's still on the rig for almost 2 weeks. Called to say he had an urgent matter with his mother. Get authorization to handle it. He didn't answer. Hang on. Need the money before closing day. Otherwise, plan B. I'm not comfortable with B. It's just insurance money. There's a reason for doing dangerous work. Accidents happen all the time. I swallow. Nathan flips the page. All from iCloud backup. She used your Apple ID to activate a new one last year. Forgot to change the password. Everything syncs to your cloud. We head straight to Mason's office. The paperwork is ready. An emergency order to freeze all assets. A criminal complaint for forged signatures on the HELOC. And a counterclaim for divorce based on systematic fraud. There's a problem, Mason says. She filed a domestic violence complaint yesterday. She wants a restraining order, giving her exclusive use of the house. I've been at sea for 7 weeks straight, I said. Mason shrugged. It doesn't matter. It's a ruse to gain favor and legalize the transfer. But we have the company security badge, passport stamp, call logs, emergency call tomorrow afternoon. For now, you're still on the rig in the paperwork. Need you to look surprised when she gets served. I can act. That night, I logged into the home camera system. Olivia must have forgotten, or thought I couldn't access remotely from sea. The screen showed a young man with his feet up on a deck chair, pouring whiskey from my cupboard, wearing my old college hoodie. Chase. Olivia appeared, pacing back and forth, waving her arms, looking nervous. I couldn't hear anything, but I understood everything. Early in the morning, Nathan came by, put down his coffee. You should see this. He dug deeper. Court records, local newspapers, social media. 3 women in 5 years. Same pattern. Date older, financially stable woman. Induce husband to leave. Collect money. Move. Within 18 months, he disappears with what's left. In one case, the woman's ex-husband died in a car accident 2 months after the divorce. Chase was a suspect, then escaped. My phone, old number, rings. I leave it in the mailbox. Olivia's voice trembles. Ethan, please call the bank. I just transferred the money to a safe investment like I said. Now they're blocking it. I don't have any money. I'm scared. 2 years ago, I might have believed it. Now, a broken voice is a dull knife. At noon, Mason reports. She put her house up for sale 2 days ago, 25% below market value, signed by you. We filed for nullification. I say, I want to go back to Odessa. Mason frowns. Not to face, to witness, I continued, from Mr. Jenkins's house. And I want to be present when they are served. Okay. That night, I was at Walter's, the oil engineer on leave, his hands thick as wood, his handshake silent. They don't know you're back, he asked. I shook my head. 2 moving trucks are here today. The big truck will be here tomorrow morning. He pointed through the window overlooking the street. I called Mason. The county sheriff would be there by 9:00. I lay on the sofa, tossing and turning. At 3, I sat up and reopened the files Nathan had filed. Cash flow, statements, photos, hotel receipts in town for the days she said she'd visited her sister. When I put the pieces down, the picture that emerged left no room for justification. It was cold and clear as metal. At dawn, Mason texted. Real estate agency confirmed. Yes, Olivia signed the listing with a forged signature. At 8:30, I saw Olivia and Chase carrying small items to the BMW. My grandmother's silver frame, the watch he'd given my father, things that had no value. 8:45, the big truck arrives. 8:55, an unmarked car blocks the back of the truck. 2 sheriffs get out, along with a courthouse employee. Time, I tell Walter. I cross the street as they knock. Olivia opens the door, her face turning from frown to confusion when she hears Ector County Courthouse. And her name. Mrs. Caldwell, we have a service. For you and the gentleman in the house. She calls in. Chase! He comes out, his arm around her waist. I step into view. In exactly 2 seconds, I see 3 of her faces. Stunned, scared, calculating. Chase just stares. Ethan, she breathes. You are on the stand. Surprise, I whisper, nodding to the sheriffs. They hand over stacks of papers. An emergency order freezing all accounts. A criminal complaint for forgery. An order to void the listing. A notice of divorce alleging fraud and conspiracy. Chase puffed out his chest. She's scared of you, I interrupted. Her abuse claim was dismissed this morning by Judge King. It's hard to abuse from 6,000 miles away. His eyes were blank. Olivia stepped forward, her eyes moist. It's a misunderstanding. I'm just protecting. Protecting by selling my house, moving the money, clearing out my stuff. I pointed to the truck. She stopped. You have 30 minutes to get your personal belongings, clothes, medications, everything else sealed for inventory, the court clerk said. They walked in, followed by 2 deputies. I turned away. Where are you going? Olivia called. Home. I didn't look back. The trial opened 4 weeks later. Across the table, Olivia and Mason. No, her lawyer was Bradley this time. Changed their names, changed their tone. Chase had been absent since 2 days after service. He'd left with the remaining cash and some jewelry. I wasn't surprised. Patterns were patterns. Judge Marisol King flipped through the pages. Bank statements, HELOC records, screenshots, iCloud logs, location records from security badges, immigration stamps. At the part about Plan B, she paused, took off her glasses. Ms. Caldwell, do you know what the consequences of insurance fraud are? And what could be worse? Bradley whispered in his client's ear. Olivia shook her head. No, Your Honor. C was just joking. Let the prosecution consider, the judge said dryly. This court deals with property division and divorce. She put her glasses back on, her voice less sharp. In 30 years of adjudicating, I have rarely seen a case of intentional deprivation of marriage this clear. Ms. Caldwell, you systematically withdrew money, falsified records, and planned to leave the state with the marital assets. Then she looked at me. As for Mr. Caldwell, your Northwind Holdings structure may raise some eyebrows, but given that you contribute to your family's expenses, filed your taxes fairly, and did not shirk your legal obligations, the court recognizes this as a legitimate defense. Quick verdict. Money returned to me. House owned. Alimony, duh. Forgery and conspiracy, turned to prosecutor. Olivia later received 5 years probation and agreed upon restitution. I didn't look at her as I left the courtroom. Some victories don't require applause. 6 months later, I was standing on the wooden porch of a cabin about an hour's drive from Whitefish, Montana. 46 acres, pine forest, meadows, a small stream that cut through like a green stitch. This had been Northwind for 5 years, a retirement I hadn't told anyone about. I sold my house in Odessa, enough memories, and asked Walter to watch over packing up anything worth keeping, sending it north. The HELOC had been reversed by the bank after the forgery became clear. I dissolved Northwind. Roll ended. Assets transferred. Taxes closed. Records shelved. I opened the bottle of bourbon and leaned against the swing I'd built from larch last summer. The wood smelled like a good memory. The pine breeze blew in my ears. No cranes or leak alarms. The phone rang again. A project manager in Canada offered me a consulting role. Good money, little travel. Let me think about it, I said. And I would. But not tonight. Tonight was for me. For the people I'd protected. For the uncounted sacrifices. The birthdays I'd missed. The desert lights. The valve checks in rough seas. I thought of Cole and the team. The men who knew how to put the common good before their own. I thought of Nathan, who'd racked his brains to build a legal wall around me early on. I thought of Walter, who'd opened the door with nothing but, "Are you okay?" And Mason, who taught me that justice takes time, paperwork, cold patience. I think about Olivia, too. Not of forgiveness, but of closure. Somewhere in Tulsa, she might be standing behind a counter, wondering how her life came to be such a broken line. I wish she had the courage to pick herself up, not cling to the next young man like a leaky buoy. Chase has drifted away. I heard he's been with a divorce doctor in Arizona. Patterns are patterns. I'm no longer in that circle. The night deepens. I remember the "does it break you when you can't come home?" messages from a few loved ones. I've asked myself 1,000 times, what is the price of keeping a platform safe? Now I know. Not being allowed to crumble. Not because I don't feel pain, but because there are others who need me to stand. Sometimes, standing still is brave. If you ask me, what of all of this touches me the most? It's not a statement or an iCloud photo. It was the way Walter gently placed his hand on my shoulder in his kitchen, not speaking, silently doing his work. It was the way Cole looked at me the next morning when I skipped dinner. The guy who knew something was wrong, but respected the invisible line on the metal floor where a man's dignity was sealed with duct tape, and the promise, "Tonight will be fine." It was the nameless sacrifice of hundreds like me, people who chose to be absent to be closer to something larger than the individual. Safety, light, a warm home. We missed the individual to keep the common thing from breaking. And sometimes, that common thing gave us nothing in return, but a sunrise on a salty platform. I remember one night in the Rub al Khali Desert that year. The relief valve didn't close. The pressure surged like a panicked animal. I stood there with two of my team, saying in a near whisper, "Don't panic." Had anyone taught us to calm down? No. We learn it at a very specific price. There is no other choice. Same with Olivia. Don't panic. Don't rush. Collect evidence. Believe in the person who chose to stand on your side. Believe in the law. There are endings that don't require revenge, just light. One afternoon, returning from Whitefish, I pulled into a roadside diner. The waitress, about 50, saw the ring removed from my finger and jokingly asked, "Are you free yet?" I laughed and said, "Freedom is a strong word." She nodded. "I think so too. It's as heavy as divorce papers and as light as the first day the house was empty." We clinked coffee cups, like two people walking through the rain and then meeting the porch. I don't hate Olivia. Hating is tiring. I just learned an old lesson. Put your trust in the right place. There are people. Your love is a hole. No amount of water will fill it up. But there are others. Even a cup of water. They will build a dam to give back to the village. I'm lucky to have people like Nathan, Walter, Cole, Mason, each in their own way of building a dam. The night I decided to sell the Odessa house, I stood in the empty living room, watching the sunlight streak through the window. I missed my father. He didn't understand oil, but he did understand one thing. "Son, what doesn't change is who you want to be." I had strayed from that saying for a while, thinking that stability was enough. Turns out, stability without being awake is just sleeping. Now I'm awake, no rush, no need to prove anything to anyone. Curious about each day, as if seeing snow on the eaves for the first time. Moved by the realization that I still have the ability to believe. I just have to choose more carefully. and moved in a way that makes people silent. Grateful for the time to live the rest of my life in a way that is kind to myself. On the porch, the wind carries the scent of fresh pine resin. I hear owls calling somewhere. I think of the consulting invitation in Canada. I might go, I might not. I don't run from work. Work has run with me all my life. But tonight, I choose a lesson as simple as larch. Durable because it doesn't try to be ostentatious. I put down my bourbon. The sky was a thin layer of red on the treetops. I texted Nathan, "Thanks. Someday, this forest will need a star counter like you." He replied, "When the forest needs books, call me." I laughed out loud. Maybe tomorrow, I'll call the Canadian manager again, ask for more details. Maybe I'll teach some young engineers how to listen to a valve by ear, how to detect a leak by smell. Maybe I'll tell them this story, not to blame, but to remind them that preparation doesn't make you cold. It frees your heart to love in the right place. Or maybe tomorrow, I'll just walk along the stream, gather dry branches to build a stove, start a fire, cook a pot of beans. Life, if it's real, doesn't need to be noisy. It needs to stay. Stay with yourself, with worthy people, with simple things like a beautiful memory in moderation. Olivia once wrote, "Moving to Palm Desert with my 26-year-old babe." She was right. Everyone has the right to go. I went too, not to the desert, but to the woods, with things that are not for sale, not counterfeit, not taken away, hands that know how to work, a back that is still straight, and a heart that has learned to beat calmly again. The night deepens. I pull the covers over my knees, let the swing creak like an old song. I whisper to life, as if to a friend who has just come back from a snowstorm. "Come inside. The fire is warm."
If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left.